Bum, 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 bum. Oh, I hope you like pictures at an exhibition. I did a bad rendition of it there, but hey, that's kind of a signature tune used in this movie. Kind of break into song, you know, get the finger piano out and kind of just go melodic. Kind of float away. Sometimes I lose track of where I am. I wonder, start questioning my own sanity. Well, the film we've got for you tonight is right up that alley, Asylum, 1972. I remember when this came out, man. I was in high school, and I loved seeing it. It was a fantastic film. It was a great experience. I don't remember if I saw it at a drive-in or not. Probably not. I think I saw it at a hard top. And let's talk a little bit about this film. It comes out of a studio called Amicus. Run by a couple, they were screenwriters and producers, Milton Subotsky and Max Rosenberg. And they were sort of, okay, we think of the renaissance of the horror film in the late 50s in England coming out of Hammer. Well, Amicus is right in that ballpark. A film that we show that was not an Amicus film, but was a Subotsky production, was Horror Hotel. 1960, so sort of moving in that direction. And one of the things that the Amicus films, when I think of Amicus, the name kind of rings a bell for me. It says omnibus, it says portmanteau, it says anthology film. Because that's sort of what the Amicus bunch did, is they hired a screenwriter, in this case it's Robert Bloch. Robert Bloch did a lot of these, actually. And he wrote a series of short stories. Okay, if you know Robert Bloch, most of us think of him in terms of Psycho. He wrote the novel Psycho, but he was a novelist. He wrote short stories. He worked in television, and he sort of hooked up with the Amicus Studios and did Asylum, which is a wonderful film, and it really sort of is indicative of the kind of other films. I was looking through some of the other portmanteau type of things. Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, Torture Garden, House That Dripped Blood. I always wonder about that. You know, that's screwy. Tales from the Crypt. They got great. Asylum, of course. Vault of Horror. And From Beyond the Grave. So you can see kind of a theme going. And they're usually 4 or 5 short films. I like short format for films sometimes. And these work really well. The 4 films in here by Robert Bloch are Frozen Fear, Weird Tailor, which is great. Got Peter Cushing in it. Lucy Comes Home to Stay, Charlotte Rampling. And also Mannequin of Horror with Herbert Lom and Patrick McGee. Really a fun film. Got to think about these films to a certain extent. The idea of why did they work? I think short format is actually, sometimes, you know, you get a horror writer. For me, Stephen King worked best in his short stories. When you look at some of his other things, he got a little bit verbose, long. I got a Stephen King book. I got to get me a U-Haul to get it home. You know, Clive Barker worked best in short format. His Books of Blood, fantastic group of short stories. But then when he got into writing books, I had to get my U-Haul out again, you know, and a forklift to get it home. And I was like, hey, help me turn the page. Even the pages are heavy on these suckers. Okay, so yeah, short format. And what that does is allows that, I always think of the short format as being sort of like a gem stone. You polish it and it's sharp and it's tight. Sometimes, okay, you see these people, if you've seen Lights Out, for instance, the feature production of that, based on a short that was only about 2.5 minutes long, worked really well. Then, okay, the same director comes out and says, okay, I'm going to make a feature of it. He gets his bicycle pump out and blows it up to, around 2 hours, you know. Can't hold it up, okay? It's like a lot of comics that come out of the Saturday Night Live tradition, who are really good in sort of little bits, but then they build a whole feature around them. Yuck. Now the film, is directed by Roy Ward Baker. And he really knew his way around the horror world. He did Monster Club, Legend of Seven Vampires, 7. And Now the Screaming Starts. Whoa, that's a great one. He did Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. Well, that's one of the great variations on that theme. Scars of Dracula, Vampire Lovers, and 5 Million Years to Earth. Well, those Quartermass in the Pit type of things. Really liked the film. Thematically, again, it deals with a doctor who comes into an asylum who is hoping to get a job there, to work there, and his test is to interview a series of people who and kind of determine their psychological well-being, if you will. And out of that spills the story, the series of stories. And it's rather Poe-esque. Okay, if you know some of Edgar Allan Poe's stories, the idea of, okay, who is in charge of the mental institution? I know I blew it already for you, but that's what the heck, you know. You're not watching it for the plot anyway. You're watching it for the great cinematography by Dennis Coop, who also did Bunning Lake is Missing, 10 Rillington Place, good one, Vault of Horror, and Now the Screaming Starts. So he knows his way around the horror mechanisms as well. I think you're going to enjoy this film. Great score, uses a lot of Mussorgsky stuff, Night on Bald Mountain, and Pictures at an Exhibition, which I always loved that great work. But folks, get out your little musical instruments, play them, think. Are you who you think you are? Do you belong where you are? Look at the person sitting next to you. I don't recognize who they are. Asylum, 1972. Roll 'em.